Okay, let's go. Okay.
जब भी कुछ करने निकलो दुनिया कह देती है नो। दिखा अपना क्रंच। इसकी हर बाइट में है महा चॉकलेट और जबरदस्त क्रंची वेफर। उठा मंच, दिखा क्रंच फ्रॉम नेस्ले। Today we're going to go over how to scrape high quality phone numbers, mobile phone numbers of your prospects so you can do more cold calls, more voicemails, and more text messages. I did a video testing every single lead list tool I could possibly find, but that video was more optimized for finding emails. But trying to find high quality phone numbers is usually a completely different strategy. There's a couple different ways of scraping. One way is with scraping a business data, so it's basically just a broad overall data of a specific business. So let's just say plumbers in Miami, it'll give you the phone numbers and emails of those companies. But it's not usually giving you the person's name, the person that owns that company, or their personal data. And so for that, they have personal data scraping, which is usually you scraping from LinkedIn or other data sources, and it'll scrape the personal phone number of the person that owns the business. Now, how to scrape the individual really depends on the industry you're reaching out to, so you have to put yourself into their shoes. So for example, as a plumber, you probably made the website yourself, you probably just got started, you put everything up yourself, you probably put up a Facebook page, and then you let it run. And on that Facebook page, you probably put your personal phone number on there. Or on the website, you probably put your personal phone number because you want to take the calls yourself and you're the plumber, you're the one-man band. But a law firm is a lot different where they have a secretary or someone that's at a front desk. They have landlines. They have things already in place and established. Same with like doctors or dentists. They usually don't have their personal data on the website. You usually can't find the personal phone number of the dentist on their website. And so for that, you need personal data scraping. You need to find the specific dentist and their specific phone number. So we're going to go over smaller, more local businesses first. If you're trying to reach out to them, I recommend a tool called Leads Gorilla. And a second to that option would be D7 Lead Finder. D7 Lead Finder is a very basic tool, but you get a lot out of it in terms of the price that you're paying. It's also good depending on the niche you're targeting. So if you're targeting law firms, it might not be the best tool for you. But if you're targeting, let's just say junk removal, which is what I use for this example, I got 230 phone numbers and I had 91 mobile phone numbers out of that, which is 39% mobile phone number rate. That might not sound very good, but that is pretty good. Usually between 40 and 60% is what we're looking for in terms of the mobile phone number hit rate. Now, again, it depends on the industry that you're targeting. So I pulled another list of attorneys. It gave me a list of hundreds of phone numbers, but only 10% of them were mobile phone numbers. Two things to note: I'm not getting paid by any of these tools, so my opinion is unbiased here. And then two, I use a tool called clearoutphone.io to validate the phone numbers. It shows me which ones are mobile phone numbers and which ones are landlines. All right, so this other tool I like using a little more. It's Leads Gorilla. It's a little different. It gives you two options in terms of scraping. One option is scraping from Facebook business pages. The other option is scraping from just Google. Now, I noticed that usually scraping from Facebook gives you higher quality data just because usually if you're setting up a Facebook business page, it's usually the owner that's setting that up. They're usually putting in their personal data, so their personal email, their personal phone number into that Facebook business page. And so when I scraped a list of junk removal companies, I got 126 phone numbers, and 76 of those phone numbers were mobile verified. Now, setting up Leads Gorilla was kind of annoying up front, like you had to set up some sort of Google quality data just because usually if you're setting up a Facebook business page, it's usually the owner that's setting that up. They're usually putting in their personal data, so their personal email, their personal phone number into that Facebook business page. And so when I scraped a list of junk removal companies, I got 126 phone numbers, 10% business data. So it's basically just a broad overall data of a specific business. So let's just say plumbers in Miami, I'll give you the phone numbers and emails of those companies. You with over half
How? How? God damn. Mm-mm-mm. How to get phone numbers, right?
how to scrape high quality phone numbers, mobile phone numbers of your prospects so you can do more cold calls, more voicemails, and more text messages. I did a video testing every single leadless tool I could possibly find, but that video was more optimized for finding emails. But trying to find high quality phone numbers is usually a completely different strategy. There's a couple different ways of scraping. One way is with scraping a business data. So it's basically just a broad overall data of a specific business. So let's just say plumbers in Miami, I'll give you the phone numbers and emails of those companies. But it's not usually giving you the person's name, the person that owns that company, or their personal data. And so for that, they have personal data scraping, which is usually used from LinkedIn or other data sources, and it'll scrape the personal phone number of the person that owns the business. Now, how to scrape the individual really depends on the industry you're reaching out to. So you have to put yourself into their shoes. So for example, as a plumber,
What's up, Blitikin? It's going great, bro. What are you doing right now? I mean, in the back end side of things and stuff you were doing. What the fuck? My internet is not working properly. The password should run scraping for.
We have local businesses out of the way. How do we pull high quality phone numbers of individuals like CEOs, owners, founders, high value prospects, and company? Personal data scraping is usually just going on LinkedIn, searching your specific audience using your call with my team below where I'll help you set up those systems and give you access to all the tools that you need. I'll also coach you one-on-one, and if
Move forward with a name, with a hunch, with a first step.
I'm going to show you exactly what I do every single day to maximize the amount of booked calls I'm getting. This is exactly what I was doing when I was getting 5 to 10 sales calls every day consistently when I was first starting. And I actually made a whole separate series on a different YouTube channel of me actually doing this every single day. So you can actually watch those other videos of me actually doing this. All right, before you start booking any calls or doing any outreach, you have to think about where does your audience hang out? So that's like the most important question. If you're trying to reach out on Facebook and your audience isn't on Facebook at all, there's obviously no point in you reaching out on Facebook. Now, most of the platforms that work well for any almost B2B industry. So for example, if you're an agency, you're targeting restaurants, law firms, whatever. Almost every single business is on these 4 platforms. You can do SMS, email, LinkedIn, and calling. It's usually pretty easy to find a business owner's email and phone number. So we have SMS, calling, and email all right there. And also it's usually pretty easy to find them on LinkedIn. So you have all those platforms that are pretty readily available to you. Now, Facebook and Instagram is hit or miss depending on the industry. Real estate agents are probably on Facebook and Instagram. Lawyers probably aren't really as active on Facebook, you know. Fortune 500 CEOs probably don't have their own Facebook group of all the Fortune 500 CEOs, you know. So it's a little easier to find them on those other platforms. All right, once we know which platforms they're on, there are 2 different forms of outreach, one that's automated and one that isn't automated. I'm gonna show you how to implement both into your daily routine, but we're gonna start with the automated strategies. And if you don't have a lot of time, let's just say you have a 9-to-5 job, then just do the automated strategies. All right, so at the beginning of the week or during the weekend, we wanna set up the automations for the upcoming week. So if we are doing email, SMS, LinkedIn, and calling, what we want to do first is get a lead list. So there's obviously several platforms you can use to get lead lists. I have several videos on this, but I get a list of emails and phone numbers I need to reach out to. I then verify the emails and phone numbers, make sure that they're valid, and then try to set up each individual campaign. So obviously there are several ways of doing an email and an SMS campaign or a cold calling campaign or LinkedIn campaign. I'm not going to go too in depth on how to use each individual tool and set it up and all that jazz. I have other videos on how to do all that jazz. But I go over usually my last campaign that I did the last week. So what happened? What message was I using? Did it work or did it not work? How good did the sales calls go? You know, all that jazz. If I need to adjust something, I will adjust it. If the scripts are working fine, I'll keep it the same and then set up the campaign. So I'll upload my contacts of emails and phone numbers, and then I'll set it to do a drip mode, which basically means let's say, upload 1,000 phone numbers. I want it to send 200 texts per day for the next 5 days. Same with email. I upload 2,500 emails. I want to send 500 per day for the next 5 days. Now, also at the beginning of the week or on the weekend, I do recommend working on content. Now, this is like kind of the only time that I have available to work on content. Like it's right now, it's a Sunday afternoon, because most of the time during the week I have all these calls, right? And so I would definitely always prioritize content, because even if you don't have an audience now, it is what's going to build your business long term. Every single time I post a testimonial, every single time I post a YouTube video, every single time we send an email out, we always get more and more sales calls with every single post we do, right? And this was the case even when I didn't have an audience. When I was first starting out and I was just making these videos on what I was doing every day, day to day, people would...
If you use a trending sound on Instagram, that's not the only thing that Instagram is actually looking at. In addition to that, they want to look
eventually find me, right? So people would find me and they'd watch my videos, even if it only got 30 views or 50 views. Someone would book a call from that. And that's with me not having any traffic from anywhere. Like, everybody starts from zero. No one has a million followers when they're born, you know? And how it also helped me is, I think a way I was able to grow my audience was just reaching out on LinkedIn a lot, or reaching out on Facebook a lot. And so when I was reaching out on LinkedIn, I would get LinkedIn connections. I was reaching out on Facebook, I would get Facebook connections, right? And so now I have 5,000 friends on Facebook. So now if I post something and I say something on Facebook, now thousands of people see it just because I was already reaching out to them, you know? The other thing is, whenever I would reach out, people would actually look me up. So it would help my cold outreach when I did warm inbound content. So I would send a cold email, they would see the name Carson Fox, they would make sure that I was a real person, they would look up that name on Google, they would see my YouTube videos that I was actually a real person, they would see my LinkedIn profile, whatever, and they would say, hey, Carson, I just watched a few of your videos, I kind of do like what you do, yeah, sure, I'm ready for a call, whatever. And so that actually did help me a ton when I was doing the inbound content plus the outbound. If you think about it, like with any brands, you kind of, anytime you're purchasing something, you want to make sure 100% that you're not going to get scammed, right? That something's not going to happen to you, right? Most of the time. And so to do that, usually you try to do your research. You just want to make sure that you have all the context, right? And so the more there is about you out there, the more likely they are going to trust you more, right? So if I have thousands of hours of me talking and I sound like I know what I'm talking about for thousands of hours, they're going to be way more likely to book a call. Or if I have a book, right, that's a #1 best-selling, even if it's a fake #1 best-selling book, right? If I have a book and it looks pretty good and they read it and actually has good knowledge in it, then they are way more likely to buy once they see that you actually are an expert, right? They can see anything that there is to know about you on the internet, you know? So if there's interviews of you, or you're on different podcasts, or you have different videos, or you have client testimonials, the more you have out there, the better. And if you don't have, I mean, would you buy from me if I just reached out to you and I never showed my face, I never showed any content, my company name wasn't even a real name, my website was barely even, I'm not saying that you should really focus on your website, or you should really focus on having a really clean, cool photo, right? Those things help you, but they aren't the most important thing. The offer really usually is the most important thing. But if you have these things, it makes it a lot easier for someone to move forward with you. You know, actually, I can actually believe that you're real. I can believe that I can trust you, and therefore I'll purchase from you. All right, now it's the beginning of the week, and the automations are going. Usually I start the automations at noon EST Monday. So every day it's going out at noon. Now, the reason for noon is because that's 12 o'clock my time, which is 9 a.m. in, say, California, right? So they're 3 hours behind. So if you're targeting the United States, if you do noon or 1 p.m. Eastern time, that means everyone throughout the country should be awake, and we should be good, you know, to receive messages, right? Now, I've also tested different times. So I've tested sending out emails at 8 p.m. my time. And it actually kind of worked better, where I would get the same open rate, but then the next morning I would have more people opening the emails. And so it would have, let's say, a 40% open rate at night, but then the next day it would have a 60% open rate, because I think people would come into their office, they look at their computer and look at the emails that they missed, and so then they would see my email first. So I would test that, maybe sending later at night. Also, I've seen other people like Tim Ferriss. He had I think in his book he was talking about that he would ask for donations, but everyone else was calling 9 to 5. He would call 6 to 9 p.m. And he actually got a lot more donations working less hours. So the automation should be going and running, but we also have other automation tools that we need to set up daily. So for example, on Facebook or on Instagram, they have their own separate tool where you have to click every day to play. It takes 5 seconds to do, but you can't just let it do it for a week, right? It just has to, you have to go in and click play on a daily basis. So I go in and I'll click play, and it'll start sending out messages on those platforms as well. Now, as a part of my program, we give you most of these tools for free. So we give you an SMS tool, a Facebook sending tool, an email sending tool, WhatsApp sending tool, a voicemail drop tool, all for free as a part of it. And we scrape leads for you and guarantee that you get appointments or leads or clients within the first 2 weeks guaranteed. So if you're interested in that, you can book a call directly with me below. But anyways, we have the automations that are going to drip out every single day going. We have the daily automations. We click and play those. Those are going now. Now, if you have done this for a couple of days or a couple of weeks now, you should have consistent lead flow coming in, right? So every morning when I was doing this, I can show you on screen right here, I have like 10, 15 responses every single day of people saying, yes, I'm interested, or a conversation I was having last week that someone just actually finally responded, all this stuff, right? So usually throughout the night, and you would be surprised on how many people respond like during 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning, right? So throughout the night, I usually get a ton of responses, so I wake up the next morning to 10, 15 replies that I have to respond back to and try to get them over to a booked call. That is the best feeling in the world. Once you get to that point, you finally realize that I will never, ever have to worry about where my next dollar is going to come from, because I know exactly what I need to do to get more clients. And if I just keep pushing out messages, people are going to continually be interested. I'm going to continue to wake up to 10, 15 people that are interested in my product and people that want to buy from me, right? And so it's just kind of like you realize you have this infinite money machine, like literally. So I have these 10, 15 replies that I have to respond to. So I go through each conversation, look at their profile, see if it matches what I'm doing, whatever. I'll respond back to them, see what they need, right? And usually I have a lot of copy and paste messages that I do. So I use a tool called Clutch. and it helps me copy and paste different messages, right? Usually if someone says, how does it work? I just have a copy and paste template of how it works, right? I've got a DM script that I use. I've got a free course in the description below on all the scripts that I use and also the DM framework I use to get them over to a booked call. And you can look at that if you want. And I also keep track of all my leads in this Notion board. And so you can make a duplicate of this Notion board. It'll be in the description below as well. What it is, it has different cards, right? You can also build this out through Trello if you want to. I just like Notion just because it was just easier to track. Now, Go High Level has its own tracking, just own pipeline function. Most automation tools like LinkedIn automation tools or Facebook automation tools, they have their own tracking function. The problem with all of them is that they are only specific to that platform, right? So for the LinkedIn automation, it's only good for the LinkedIn automation. For the Facebook one, it's only good for Facebook. But for Notion, I could just add whatever I wanted to the Notion board, and it's just really easy to use. So that's why I created this. So there's positive reply, follow-up, booked call.
You want to learn new data skills because your job, but you don't have time to learn new data.
Closed and paid and then onboarded. So anytime I was sending out the first cold message and someone responds positively, then what I do is I will put that into the Notion board. So I will take that person's profile link, or if they sent me a text back, right, I'll put their phone number in there, I'll put their name in there, any info that I have on them, a little bit of notes like what they do or who they are, what their company name is, whatever, all that stuff. And then I'll just put in that they responded positively, right? And then I'll respond back to them. And so for every single person, I'll put them into the Notion board that they responded positively. Now, once I've gone through all the replies that I had today, I look at all the positive replies that I had yesterday or the day before, right? So anyone else that was in there for more than one day, right? So then if there's anyone that's in there, I will drag them over to follow-up if they haven't responded yet. And then I will send my first follow-up message. I usually have 3 follow-up messages. How my follow-up messages usually go is I usually just say, hey, I'm just bumping this message again, or hey, I just want to see if you're still interested, and then I'll give a testimonial. I had one client that was able to get a 10x ROI. If you're interested, let me know. I had one client that got 80 calls his first month. I usually try to have, within each follow-up, I have slightly different. So one guy will say, I've had 20 sales calls this week if you want me to help you do that. Or I'll say to another guy, I had 80 sales calls this month. So it's the exact same thing, 20 sales calls a week, 80 sales calls a month, but it sounds slightly different. And so I just try to change it slightly because maybe it sounds different to them, or maybe it's a different value to them. And so maybe something catches their attention that didn't catch it before, right? So maybe they don't want sales calls, maybe they want ROI, or maybe they don't want ROI, they want amount of clients. So if I say, hey, I got 6 clients this month, that might sound better than 80 sales calls. And again, I use the tool Clutch to save my follow-ups. So whenever I need to follow up with somebody, I'll just copy the follow-up message and then paste it in there, and it's really easy to use. All right, so what should you do when you have nothing else to do? Now, if you're doing these automations consistently, you should have, for the rest of the day, you should have sales calls coming in, right? And you should be doing those sales calls, which is what I was doing. But if you don't have sales calls coming in, that means you're probably just starting, which means you have plenty of time to actually do more outreach. But we're already doing all the automations we can, so what else can we do? You can actually start doing manual outreach. Now, this works extremely well, but no one does it. I know you're not going to do it because you're just like everybody else. You want everything done for you. You want to make it easy, or whatever, right? And I've done this so many times. I've made so many videos. People come to me, oh, Carson, this isn't working for me. And I say, look, go watch this video of me doing this for 30 minutes. And I booked 4 or 5 calls in 30 minutes. Go watch this video of me doing it for 2 hours. I booked 5, 6 calls in 2 hours. It does not take that much effort to do. You guys just don't do it at all right? And so it's just a focused effort, and here's what I mean. So I have plenty of other videos that you can watch right now on YouTube. There's different strategies that you can't really automate. You want to do it personalized, and it works a lot better. So for example, you can do cold calling, right? I have a strategy that works really well for me, which is texting them first.
Yes, I want to order a MacBook Max Pro. MacBook, you hit a lottery award. In our salary.
And then calling them directly after. So you say, hey, is this Greg? I'm going to call you if that's okay. And then you call them right there, right? And usually you'll get a 25, 35% pickup rate. Industry average 10, 15%. And usually you get 2, maybe 3 booked calls per hour of doing those cold calls. Right? You only might be able to do 20, 30 calls, but you actually have to sit there and text 20, 30 people and call 20, 30 people. So anybody that says that they can't get consistent calls every day, I know. And the other thing is, if you can't get calls, you probably have the time, right? It's not like you don't have time. And so you have the time, you're not sitting there and just doing that for just an hour of actually focused effort, actually doing 30 calls within that hour, and you're just not doing it. So that's what I see happen a lot of times. People come to me and they say, Carson, this isn't working. I see them on Discord playing Fortnite right now, playing Call of Duty. I'm like, that's why it's not working for you, because you're playing Call of Duty right now. Not that it's bad, right? But you have better things that you could be doing with your time. And so if you've already set up the automations, those are already going, and you're getting some responses from there, then we should, for the rest of the day, if you have nothing else to do, then we should be doing all the manual processes. Okay, so for example, the cold calling is a great idea. There's another video I made on how to do personalized outreach, which is like sending an email to somebody but having a personalized first line, and not just like any personalized first line like, oh, I saw that you lived in London, that's a great city, whatever. Not like that. We want to say something like, hey, I watched your most recent YouTube video about blank. I love what you said about blank, right? So actually taking the time to watch 5 minutes of the video, hear something in it, and then say, hey, I think you deserve a lot more views. I want to see if you're open to a partnership. I think we can help each other out. That's the way you want to do it, right? That's the personalized approach. The next one you can do is different platforms by trying to find the audience that's already interested. So for example, I went on Facebook, I found videographers, and there was a group on I need a videographer, something like that. And people were posting, hey, I need a videographer in Las Vegas. Hey, I need a videographer in New England, right? And people would say, yes, I'm interested. And so you had all these comments of videographers that were actively on Facebook and actively looking for more jobs, right? And so I'm like, this is the perfect audience because they're already on Facebook, they're already looking for jobs. And you can have your Facebook automation going and reach out to the people in that group, but you can also reach out and say, hey, I just noticed you were in Vegas and you're trying to get jobs in Vegas. I can send you a few jobs if you're interested, right? And we do a personalized message that way. Another thing you can do is just doing voice notes. So I did a test the other day where I sat there and I did voice notes for half an hour, and I booked 3 calls just by sending voice notes, and I only sent out 20 voice notes. I sent it through SMS. You can also do it through Facebook. You can also do it through Instagram. So you should be able to allocate 1 to 2 hours of your day just to doing that if you're just getting started. And if you actually are allocating 2 hours a day, there is no reason you shouldn't get 5 booked calls in 2 hours of doing those strategies. Just those strategies. So we should be able to get an extra 5 to 7 booked calls from the automated strategies and 5 calls from the manual strategies, right? So it's an easy 10 calls per day if you're doing both of those together. Now, when I was just doing the the automated outreach, when I was doing that consistently, I was getting about 5 to 7 calls a day from the automated outreach. Now, some days I would do the personalized manual outreach, and some days I wouldn't. Some days I had time, sometimes days I didn't, And so it's really just up to the day, but obviously you want to actually do it. Don't be like everybody else, just be lazy and not do it. You just actually have to sit there and do it for just 30 minutes, do it for just an hour, and just see what the result is. If you don't get anything out of it after an hour, just don't listen to what I say and never do it again. You don't have to do it again, right? If cold calling didn't work for your industry, just don't cold call again. You can try another strategy. So using all these strategies together, we should be able to get 5 to 10 sales calls per day consistently. But what you do not want to do, and this is what I see happen so many times, is you do not want to stop the train. What I mean by that is it's pretty hard to get going. It might take you 1 or 2 weeks to start getting consistent calls, and it's getting a train going is really hard. Or
Okay, so I'll be ending stream right now. Bye bye.